Hey, welcome to my new series, 7 Most Important Tools for Modern WordPress Development. So, over the course of the series, each episode I'm going to introduce a new tool that I think is kind of just critical for modern WordPress development, which means there's going to be a little bit of a kind of an expectation that you're maybe a developer, that you're a little bit comfortable with like local development environment for WordPress, with using Node or Node Package Manager for managing dependencies, that you have, some basic experience writing JavaScript, writing PHP. This is definitely a developer series. And along the way, each episode, I'm going to do a very quick overview of a tool that I think is just indispensable to the world of modern WordPress, something that I use every day, something that I think you can get a lot of value of. And we'll just do a quick, brief overview of it. So the video you're watching is going to be available on YouTube, but not all of them are going to be. So you'll want to head to briancords.com and subscribe to my email newsletter, and you'll get access to all 7 of the videos for free. So head over there after you're finished watching this. So today we're going to talk about my first number 1 absolute ultimate tool for WordPress developers, and that is Query Monitor, which is a WordPress plugin that really is like the developer tools for working inside of WordPress. So free plugin, just go to wordpress.org/plugin/query monitor, download it, install it. I have it running on every site when I'm locally developing and even some sites that are in production because it's just so valuable and full of resources. So let's take a look at what Query Monitor is and what you should be using it for. So we're looking at a little local WordPress site that I'm working on here, and I have Query Monitor installed, and you can tell that because at the top of my screen, I have this bar with a bunch of numbers on it and this drop down with a bunch of different menu options. And the way Query Monitor works is you can just click on this and it actually opens this drawer that sits at the bottom of every page in WordPress when you're logged in. And you can even have it show up when you're not logged in. And it's going to just provide a ton of important diagnostic information about the WordPress site that you're looking at. So number 1, even from here, you can see things like how long is it taking the page to load? Is it using a lot of memory? Database queries? Do you have a good object cache in place? How successful is your cache? And then along the side, you can see all sorts of other things. You can see all of the scripts and styles that are being enqueued. You can see information about the request that's being made, what screen is being loaded, all sorts of stuff, and all the way down to what's your local environment like, all these sorts of things. So super useful for debugging, getting basic information about your site and everything that you might need to know. Similarly, if you're on the front end of your site, you do have additional things like it helps you know what blocks are being loaded, what template file is being loaded, where in the template hierarchy you are. So if you're doing things like, styling, debugging, you can see all sorts of other information about where styles and all that sort of stuff comes in. So super handy tool. But what I actually really like to use it for is extra debugging when I'm writing actual code. So in this example, I've loaded the page and I can see that Query Monitor is turned red. And when I hover over it, I have a PHP error. So a lot of times when you're working on a lot of code, any of your PHP errors or bugs or anything will actually get flagged by Query Monitor, and you can click on it and you can see exactly what the issue is. And they'll even give you like a stack trace of where exactly it found it. In this case, in my theme.functions.php, I'm using a variable that I haven't defined. So PHP bugs, like PHP errors, things like that, super handy to track down with Query Monitor. But you can actually take it a step further. You can not just see bugs, but you can actually use Query Monitor to like debug the value of a variable in PHP. So a lot of times as a developer, you're working through something and then you use var dump to dump out a bunch of information about a variable. You actually don't have to do that. You can use Query Monitor to inspect variables without like printing it out in the middle of your page. So here I've loaded that functions.php file, and you can see here that undefined variable that I was spitting out. So we're going to get rid of that. And let's look at another example right here, which is I'm going to use Query Monitor to log a variable. So Query Monitor has a bunch of these actions like qm/debug, qm/other things. And so I can use those anywhere in WordPress to show that variable in Query Monitor. So in this case, I'm hooking into a block, the core heading block, and I'm just going to debug some information about it. So let's jump back over to the WordPress site and see what it looks like in Query Monitor. Okay, so I've reloaded the page. I have Query Monitor, no more bug. But if I hover over it, I can see that I have 3 logs now, which means I'm logging 3 variables. And if I click on that and open it, I can see exactly that variable that I was logging. So we were looking at like all the core heading blocks on the page. So I can see like that full array, and I can look at that and I can inspect it. It tells me exactly where it's coming from, what the full stack trace is that led to that function being called. And so it's just like a lot faster of a way and kind of cleaner of a way to debug what different variables are. And you can actually take it further where they have like timing versions of it where you can start and end a log and it'll tell you how long it took to get from the beginning of the end. So trying to figure out what function is taking so long, you can time it with Query Monitor. There's all sorts of things you can do. And without without relying to that old var dump. And speaking of timing, one of the other things that Query Monitor is commonly used for is really just figuring out, why is my WordPress site moving so slow? So I'm going to refresh this page and you'll see that it's going to be spinning while I'm talking because now it's starting to move really slow. It shouldn't be moving that slow, but it is. And I can see in Query Monitor, it took 4.5 seconds for this page to load, whereas previously it took like milliseconds. So I can click on here and I can kind of dig in to see, why did it take, over 4 seconds for this page to load in WordPress? There's a few different things. I can put in custom timings. I can look at database queries and see if there's some really slow queries happening. If there are, it'll usually call them out. And the one place I also like to look is this HTTP API calls, because when you have a lot of plugins on your WordPress site, one thing those plugins love to do is make a remote request to their server, check your license key, make sure that everything is good, and wait for that information to get back. And as those requests, they really start to add up. WordPress makes some of these requests. So in this case, I can see that there was an HTTP request to some outside URL, and it was a 200 request, but it took 4 seconds to make this request, which means WordPress was just sitting there waiting to load. And imagine that on every page load, an extra 4 seconds. So there's super handy to track down those like long, slow requests and things. And again, gives you the nice little stack trace and exactly where to find it. Oh, it's in my functions.php. I guess it's my fault. So these are some of the great things you can do with Query Monitor. What I'm going to recommend is install Query Monitor on your next site. Just dig through it, start learning, seeing where things are slow, see what's working. Look for like bugs and PHP notices in your code, all sorts of things. And if you want to get the rest of this video series with my 7 most important tools, just head to briancourse.com and sign up for my email newsletter. And I'm going to be sending out one of these a day for 7 days.